Glory be to God. This magnificent day is April 22nd, 2023, 2:32 in the afternoon on Saturday, where I am in the world. It's daylight, as you can see. I've got my windows open, got some light coming in the window emitting, and springtime is come. Okay. And I'm grateful to the Lord for everything He's made me responsible for, and He's allowed me to experience, endure, and be challenged by all the troubles in my life. I'm grateful for the trouble, the trials, and the tribulations because they make me stronger and more capable of thinking clearly and making better choices and decisions. Sorry, I've got a little bit of stuff going on here, but I'm doing this today specifically because God said something to me. And it's interesting because it always seems that I'm in deep thought or turmoil about something, and then it's like I get a revelation. I don't know how to say it, but one thing I've understood is when God sets something in motion in a person's life, He intends to see that thing fulfilled by any means necessary. I know someone that He gave specific revelation to on several occasions, and she just completely ignored it. She didn't really pay it any attention. I tried to help her, and there's just no helping her. There's no helping this person, and I mean, there's something that you can't make. One thing you need to understand in life is that Jesus did not send His disciples out and charge them with making people submit to the will of God or forcing them to do the will of God. He simply said, "Go about preaching the gospel and let them know that the kingdom of heaven is at hand." And I'll get further into detail and in depth about this stuff here in a minute. But what God said to me this week, and it's always in form of scripture, and it's like He just wants me to pay attention to specific parts of the scriptures, like He's teaching me and for me to pass this message on. So what He said specifically to me was in the words of Jesus, and listen, and I'm going to read about it here in a minute. The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. And I've been meditating on that for several days, thinking about what that means. Is it a parable? Is it specific to a happening, or is it saying that heaven promotes violence? Because I've read specific scriptures throughout the Bible that the word suffer or suffereth mean allows. So, with that being said, I could say that I almost thought where God was saying the kingdom of heaven allows violence and the violent take it by force. But wait a minute. Now, if we put it in context like that, if we say what Jesus said in that context, that makes it sound like He came to promote violence. And then there's another scripture a little bit later on. He said, "I came not to uh, bring peace, but to cause division." So I'm not sure what that means, but that lets me know that God, in effect, is a warring God, but not necessarily warring in a way like we're always fighting, as in um we're at war with our neighbors or we're at war with another country, not literal physical mortal war, but war as in there's always a challenge to be faced. Because a lot of the times in our lives, we we want answers right now. We want everything. This is the generation of microwave. We have to just push a button and get the answer. Let's go. Let's do it. Everything has to be instant right now. Let's get it right now. And we think that God is like a microwave God. We just, you know, push a button on an app on our phone and send an order over to God, and it's about 5 minutes our order should be ready. And that's not the way it works. There's always a process to everything. And if you pray about something diligently, fervently, and you're serious about it, and you have heart in it, and you believe it, and you have faith, then that prayer is going to be answered. It might not be answered the way you think it should be answered, but it's going to be answered. Now, take that, what I'm just saying to you, and listen to what this says. The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Now, I'm going to put that into context in the scripture because I need to read the whole entire passage in order for you to get the understanding, just as because I haven't yet to read it this morning, but I'm starting to see that a lot of people that are violent in nature like to try to take things by force. They like to try to force you to do things the way they would do them. They like to see that you do things the way they want you to, or they want to force you to do it, or they want you to comply or be in compliance, or they want to see you lose something, or they see that you have something that they want and they just take it. Does that make sense? So if you think about how the disciples and the prophets were delivering the message of Jesus, of God first Almighty, before the prophets were being and prophesying and doing the will of God specifically before the time Jesus walked. If you think about all those people, there's people that were listening to these prophets speaking, and they wanted to make them do things. They wanted to, and they were violent about it too. They were always wanting to force these people to do. They always wanted to force the disciples or force the prophets to do something because they wanted to take something that they had. They wanted to take they wanted to take the kingdom of God from them. They just like when Jesus came and he was walking, people wanted him to just, where's the kingdom? Show us where the kingdom is so we can take it. I'm just trying to give you an idea about what I've been kind of meditating over concerning that specific passage. Now, well, let me just get into this because I want to start in chapter 10. I'm going to read chapter 10 and chapter 11 in Matthew, and hopefully we'll find out what's happening here. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this today, but I'm going to tell you something else too. Church isn't just on Sunday. Just because you go into a building and you're there on time and you open your Bible when the pastor or the bishop or the minister or the preacher gets up and they tell you open your Bibles to First Kings chapter 20 verse 3, and then you just open up there and there you have whatever he is supposed to. But the church is in your heart, is what God puts on your heart to do, how you do it. And if you do it with dedication and with focus and commitment, God wants to see commitment in you. He doesn't want you just to say, okay, Lord, I need something else. And he gives it to you and you just walk off until you get it ready to go back and get some more or be replenished. You can't be that way with God. You can't be that way with anybody. Okay. So let me start here. Just listen carefully because everything I just said, hopefully, I don't know what God is intending to say right now, but I don't ever prepare a message and I don't really ever really read anything before I get into talking about this stuff, because if God put it on my heart, then it should already be specific to what the scripture says. So, God, I'm giving you glory right now in Jesus' name. Chapter 10, Matthew. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. So Jesus has to give you the power. If you have the Holy Spirit, doesn't mean you have the power of Christ to heal disease. It's in your ability to do so, but you have to have charge from the Lord to do it. You have to have that anointing on your life, specifically from God through Jesus. Now, the names of the 12 apostles are these: the first, Simon, who is called Peter, and his and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother. Okay, so that's four so far. And then there's Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the publican, James the son of Alphaeus, and Lebbaeus, whose surname was Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. Is that 13 people? Now, wait a minute. So let me go back here. There's Simon, who is called Peter. That's one. Okay, one. Andrew, his brother, two. James, the son of Zebedee, three. John, his brother, four. Philip and Bartholomew, five, six. Thomas and Matthew, the publican, seven, eight. James, the son of Alphaeus, and Lebbaeus, whose surname is Thaddeus, nine, 10. Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. That's 12. Okay, so we got 12. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, now listen, I said something to this effect about how Jesus sent people out. When he sent somebody out, there's a lot of people that think they're living and doing God's work when they're really not doing God's work, because God doesn't want you carrying anything with him but his word. Listen, these 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. That means don't go where the Gentiles are, and don't go into Samaria, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Go specifically to Jerusalem. And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give. If you receive something freely, you don't go around charging people for something you get for free. That doesn't make any sense unless you actually put physical work into it. If you put physical work into it, actual physical labor, I'm not talking about going and walking and doing the work of God, and because God gave you life, that's your charge. That is your responsibility. You have that responsibility. So if that's a responsibility you're given, that's not a gift. That's something that you're accountable for. Okay. But if you've been given a gift, you don't charge somebody for a gift you've received. You give it freely just as it was given to you. Money, clothes, vehicles, houses, whatever the case may be. Provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses. Don't take any money with you, nor scrip for your journey. No paper, neither two coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his meat. If you are doing God's work, God's going to make sure that you have everything you need. He wants you to trust him to provide for you. He wants you to trust him to give you everything you need for whatever you think you might need to be prepared for. Is going to be pointless for you to carry, is what he's saying here. And into whatsoever city or town ye shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till ye go thence. See, whoever is worthy, who will allow you to come into their homes, or who will allow you to give them the message of the gospel of Christ? Who is worthy of receiving you in their house? And when ye can't come into an house, salute it. Not, soldier style, but salute it as in bless the Lord. Bless the Lord, bless the house. And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. If you take peace in with you, leave with it. Don't leave it there. Leave with you. Take your peace. If you go in there peacefully, leave peacefully. And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when ye depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. This is Jesus talking to his disciples, telling his disciples specifically what to do, giving them specific instructions on how to complement the word of God in carrying the cross, bearing their cross when they enter into cities and stuff. When they enter into the city to preach the gospel, to go, and they're not to carry anything with them but what's in their heart. And provision will be made for them as they do the work. And that's what he meant by saying, and he said, nor scrip, nor for your journey, neither two coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his meat. If you work for it, you're going to get paid. That's what he's saying. You will be paid for doing this. It might not be money. It might not be clothes. It might not be a house, or you might not be the CEO or own 20 mansions, but you will be taken care of. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. See, wise as serpents. That means, see, there's, I guess, subtlety, the same subtlety that the serpent was in the Garden of Eden. He was smart enough not to go and talk to Adam. See, the subtlety of the serpent in the garden was sneaky and divisive. So he was, um, how would you put it? If you are being subtle and tactical about something, then what you would do is you'd be cunning about it. But a dove is harmless, because if you're cunning about it and you're going to be harmless about it, then that means not only are you going to be doing this with wisdom and subtlety with cunning, but you're also going to be doing it harmlessly, not to bring harm or cause people to sin, or make them make a mistake, or hurt somebody by doing what you're doing. You're going to do it in a way that's subtle and peaceful, but without bringing harm. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for the testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. Okay, when Moses, when God told Moses to go and free the people from Egypt, Moses, what was the first thing Moses said to God? I'm slow of speech, Lord. I can't really talk. I don't really have the ability to articulate a sentence, Lord. I don't know how to talk, and who am I to approach somebody as high as the Pharaoh? And God told Moses, who made your tongue? So in this effect, Jesus is complimenting that by saying, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. So if you have the Holy Spirit in you, then God will be shown in your actions, in the way you carry yourself. You won't be walking around disdained and distraught and discouraged and negative and bitter and angry and vengeful and wanting to get back at people. You'll be, no matter what happens, cheerful about the situation. No matter how it makes you feel, you'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to brush that off and kick the dust off my feet, because I'm not going to let this harm me or hurt me or keep me from being joyful. Don't let anything steal your peace or your joy. Because once the devil devours your peace and devours your joy, you will be in a situation where you're miserable all the time. And negativity you will be attracted to and will attract negativity. You will be in a position mentally to keep yourself right where you are, suppressed by your own thinking. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? For them not therefore Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. Now, let me help you understand something about what he's saying. He's saying, to see what he says here is, if your master is the devil, and you're capable of great evil all the time, how much more are they going to say that they want to talk bad about you because you want to do good? That's just me breaking it down in regular human terms. But listen what he says. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. All this for the name of Jesus. Okay? You have to be brave. You have to be brave and courageous. It takes a lot of spirit and tenacity and bravery and courage and determination and commitment to serve the Lord. Because these guys were being put to death for simply saying Jesus is the coming Messiah and nobody can be saved but through him. They kill him. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. So that's saying, like, anybody who's under the Lord or their master is going to suffer the same fate as the master, if that makes sense. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. What you hear in silence, if it's the truth, that's what he's talking about. I'm telling you the truth. Whatever I tell you is the truth. So don't be afraid to tell everybody about whatever I'm saying. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not two sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. He knows everything about everything all the time. And he keeps an account and a record of everything about everything all the time. Fear ye not, therefore, ye are of more value than many sparrows. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I also confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I am come to not to send peace, but a sword. That's what I said. I haven't read this. I did not read this before I said this. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. What did that say about challenges and war and division? And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. That's the hardest part. A man. He didn't say a woman's. He said a man's foes, enemies, shall be that of his own household. The people in his own house, because they're the ones that know more about him than anything. They know his weaknesses. They know his frailties. Think about Samson and Delilah. Okay, they had Delilah digging on him, just trying to figure out what his weakness was. What is it that? How can we kill you? Come on, tell me, baby. How can we kill you? He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. So if you put any person at more importance than Jesus, you're not worthy of Jesus, is what he's saying. If you put any person as of utmost importance, he didn't say if you should not care about these people. That's not what he said. He said specifically, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. That's what he said. It's specific. The context is there. There's no sense of putting it into context when the context is already said. It's there. This is the message. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. If you're not going to do as master, if Jesus is your master and you didn't do what Jesus, see, if did Jesus go into a church building, establish a big church following, and take up a big collection plate and pay employees every week? No, Jesus did not do that. Jesus taught his disciples, go and preach the gospel. Don't take anything with you. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about food. All that's going to be provided for you as long as you're doing the will of God. Glory be to God. Thank you, Jesus. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. So it's a chain reaction. So if you receive me because I I was sent to you by Jesus, then you receive Jesus. And if you receive me, you receive Jesus. And if you receive Jesus, you receive the Lord. There's no way to the Father but through the Son. I said that. I haven't read that. Not today. Just now reading it. He that receiveth a prophet, listen, he that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. So listen, and whosoever shall give to drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. Now, if you're a disciple, if you're a prophet, if you're any kind of connectivity to Jesus Christ, and if he sent you and he gave you charge over you, and he has charge over your life, and you have the ability to do the Lord's work, and you've been commanded and anointed under the anointing of the Lord, then no matter what happens, who you do good to, and if they receive it in your, let me give you an example. Take the most famous preacher right now, the most famous church, or the most, if you receive that person who is doing the work of the Lord into you, you'll receive that reward. You'll receive the person's reward that was sent to you. I know you just got that. You got that just like that. I know you did. But you won't lose it either. Oh, wait a minute. No, the disciple and the prophet will not lose their reward. So now you have something to study on. Chapter 10, St. Matthew. Chapter 11. We'll finish this up. And it came to pass, and this is the part where I want to use to break down because the Lord put this specific word on my heart, and I know it's in here. And he says, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Now, what we're going to do is focus on the context of that specific that specific verse, okay? So what I'm asking you to do is just pay close attention with me and try your best to be in a meditative state about the word of God because God has something specific he's trying to tell you as he's trying to tell me. And we're going to figure this out together. Glory, glory be to God. Praise Jesus. And it came to pass, when Jesus had made an end of commanding his 12 disciples, he departed thence to teach and to preach in their cities. Now, when John had heard in the prison the works of Christ, he sent two of his disciples and said unto him, art thou he that should come, or do we look for another? Remember, they didn't introduce themselves, nor did they say anything about who sent them. They just simply asked, are you the one that we're supposed to be looking for, or should we look for someone else? Jesus answered and said unto them, go and show John again those things which ye do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. Let me break something down for you. When Jesus gave them charge, he told them specifically, okay? In verse 7 of chapter 10, it says, and as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is here. It's right now. This is what we're doing. This is how it's happening. And the only way the kingdom of heaven is going to be at hand, available right now in front of you, is if Jesus is there. If Jesus is not there, the kingdom of heaven is not there. You as a person can have access to the kingdom through Jesus. But because if you can't get to God without Jesus, you can't get access to heaven without Jesus. And as they departed, okay, I'm back in chapter 11 on verse 7 now. And as they departed, Jesus began to say unto the multitudes concerning John. Now, he starts talking about John right then and there. He knew these guys were going to come, and he knew who sent them. He didn't have to say, who sent you? Did John send you? Where's John at right now? Hey, excuse me, sir. Are you Jesus? John sent us to ask you if you're Jesus. That didn't happen. It's real specific here. Okay? And as they departed, Jesus began to say unto the multitudes concerning John, what went ye out into the wilderness to see? What did you go out there to see? What were you looking for when you went to that place? What were you trying to find? A reed shaking in the wind? Did you go out there to try to see some kind of somebody out there doing tricks? Did you try to see if they were out there doing miracles? What were you looking for? A magic show? But what went ye out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Did you go out there to see a king or a shepherd? Somebody dressed like they were there to do business? To impress you by the way they were dressed? Behold, They that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what went ye out for to see? A prophet? If you went to go see a prophet, now, yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. If What did you go out there? Did you go out there to see magic show? Did you go out there to see some kind of attractive businessman? Or did you go to see a prophet? Yea, and I say unto you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. It was written before John became John the Baptist, and it was already established in the word that there would be a messenger to pave the way for Jesus. And 6 months before Jesus was born, John was born. So John was 6 months older in the flesh than Jesus. And they were also related because their mothers were related. And something to do with the tribes they were a part of, but you would have to do a lineage check to figure that out. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there has not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. Now, let me break that down to you before you get to so you can get the understanding about what this context is confusing because Jesus speaks on a high level of parable and wisdom. And if you don't meditate on these things, you'll never understand it. You can't just seem to have reading comprehension when you're trying to understand what Jesus is saying, because that's the reason why he also said, let he who has ears, let he who has ears, let him hear. Something like that. He who has ears, let him hear. Plain and simple. And if you have ears, and he wasn't talking about physical ears, he was talking about not ears on your face or ears on your head or open ears or with headphones ears, or he's talking about spiritual ears, understanding ears, comprehending understanding. Like that's why he it's also said in Psalms, I believe it's Proverbs. It says, "In all thy getting, get understanding." Or maybe it's later on in Matthew here that he says, "In all thy getting, get understanding." And it's not to be taken lightly because Jesus is no joke. So he says, verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, we're all born of women. So anybody who's born into this world has not risen a greater than John the Baptist. That means it's not going to happen. There's nobody that's ever going to be, there's never going to be another John the Baptist. There's not ever going to be anyone greater than John the Baptist. Except, this is the exception, notwithstanding, with the exception of, notwithstanding, with the exception of, notwithstanding, with the exception of, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. Not notwithstanding, okay, with the exception of he that is least in the kingdom. The lowest person in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John the Baptist. The lowest person in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John the Baptist. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Listen. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Now I'm gonna run all this together so you can try to see this with me. See what it's saying here. Listen very carefully. It doesn't mean you have to take anything. Not to be forceful. That's not what he's saying. Listen. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. Until John. Listen. And from the days of John the Baptist, and from the days of John the Baptist, from the days of John the Baptist. Wait a minute. John is still alive when he's talking about it. So John is just a few months older than Jesus in the flesh. So you're telling me that in the past tense that we're regarding a man from the days of John the Baptist until now, we're talking about a man who is still alive and breathing and doing the will of God in the past tense at that present moment. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. So if the prophets and the law prophesied until John, John is still presently active and alive at that moment. And listen to this next one that's going to help you think a little more clearly about this. And if ye will receive it, this is Elias, which was for to come. See, he had talked to his disciples a little bit later on about him being Elias or one of the prophets. So John wasn't a prophet. There's a difference between a prophet and a messenger. A prophet is somebody who is working in the stead of the most powerful force being to deliver a message and give you warning or substantiate a cause. Okay? But then a messenger is specific to delivery for a specific intended purpose. A prophet was sent to different areas to tell people this is what you should do if you want your life to change. And the Lord says, if you don't do this, this bad thing is going to happen. That's prophetic. But a messenger that prepared a way in the wilderness, okay? Listen, he says here, for this is he of whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. Message is always intended a specific purpose. A messenger, it has a specific purpose. They're doing a specific job, delivering a specific message, and the message was, be prepared. The kingdom of heaven is coming. Jesus is coming. Which also relates that you can't access the kingdom without Jesus. You can't access the Father without Jesus. Let me move on from this. You can meditate on that because I'm going to continue to meditate on it. And listen, this next verse is going to blow your mind. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the markets and calling unto their fellows, Hey man, come here. And saying, We have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. Don't you hear us singing and having a good time over here, playing our music? Why aren't you dancing? And ye have not danced. We have mourned unto you, and ye have not lamented. We've complained to you and told you what our woes are and what our grievances are, and you haven't given us not an answer. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, He hath a devil. He hasn't done anything outside of the will of God, and they called him a devil. So wait a minute. Listen to this part. I'm gonna let you hear this again. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. And I'm going to tie this together like this. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, He hath the devil. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold, a man gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of their children. But wisdom is justified of their children. This is a deep passage. This is to clarify and to separate the believers from the non-believers, from the people who really know that Jesus is Lord, and from the people who are just saying it. Then began he to upbraid the cities wherein most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. Upbraid, tear down, uh I can't really not use that. That's a harsh word, harsh term, tear down. But they're not necessarily upbraided, taking it back. You want to take it back. You want to take back whatever you gave them. You're taking it back because they don't deserve it. Woe unto thee, Chorazin, Chorazin, or Chorazin. I say Chorazin because that's the way it's spelled. Woe unto thee, Bethsaida, for if the mighty works which were done in you, I'm taking them back, had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. I'm taking all the mighty works that I did back from you because you don't deserve it. But I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment than for you. And thou, Capernaum, which art exalted unto heaven, shall be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. Sodom would not have been destroyed if we would have did the work in Sodom that we did in you. We would have had saved Sodom by simply going in and telling them that they were not right, that they weren't doing the right thing, that they needed to change their ways before they were utterly destroyed. God didn't give Sodom and Gomorrah a chance. Okay? God did not give Sodom and Gomorrah. You read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's the only cities that God did not give them an opportunity to change. It was just grievous to him. He did not want that. That was an abomination. Abominable. Okay, anything that's an abomination to the Lord, he wants to destroy it. But I say unto you that it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for thee. At that time, Jesus answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. I thank you, Lord, that you have hid these things for the people that are so smart and know everything that they have no clue about what's coming because they already know everything. And thank you, Lord, that you have revealed them to people who really don't have very much knowledge, because the only knowledge they have room for is what they're receiving from you in Jesus' name. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight. Lord, you get the glory, and your will be done in the earth. All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I'm going to tie this together for you so you can get this. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. If you're tired of fighting, if you're tired of wrestling, if you're tired of being mentally distraught and lost in your contentive ways and making bad choices and decisions and living in the same repetitive, just detrimental cycle of life that you've been struggling with, come to me, I'll give you rest. That's what he's saying right here. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. Why don't you get with me a little bit? Come over here with me. Get with me. Yoke, get yoked. A yoke is where they put a clamp around your neck, put a clamp around his neck, and the yoke isn't that bad because it's not really a yoke. It's not meant to keep you from moving. It's to stabilize you. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. Meek and lowly. That means I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I just want to help you do better, and I want to see you do good, and I want to see you live life, and I want to see you uh, flourish and thrive. I don't want to see you struggling and fighting. The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. If you're always under attack, you have an option. You have choices. Everybody does. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The only burden that Jesus really carried out of his whole life was that cross and having his body beaten the way he did. And it was not something that he wanted to experience. That's the reason why he asked for the Lord to take that cup of suffering from him. He didn't want to experience all that pain. He didn't want to. But if it was the will of the Father, because he came specifically to do the will of the Father, if it was the will of the Father, he would prefer to have the will of the Father done instead of what he wanted done. Because if he had it his way, he would not have ever allowed anybody to nail him to anything. He still had human emotion. He had to go up and pray and talk to God just like we do. He had to take time to remember who God is. He had to take time to himself and reflect on his purpose and what it meant for him to do and be who he was at that specific point in time. Now, I talked about last week about God being referenced in the past tense. We could talk about what God did and who God was and what Jesus did and who Jesus was, but the thing about it is, if you can't use those words if you want to say he is risen. You can't say Jesus was if he is. You can't say God was if he is. You can't say God is the same yesterday, today, and forever if he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the key to it is the infinite wisdom that God is, and everything that's infinite about God, complete eternity. You can't, he's not defined by a quadrant of time. You can't put God in a box and expect him to answer things with a microwave mentality. And you just send a notification to God and it comes back in an email and all your prayers are answered like on Bruce Almighty. That's not the way life is. And we've gone through life so much that we've handed down everything that we were taught from our parents to our children, or the children that are coming up under us in our families, or the siblings we have, and the experiences that we've shared. And we grew up under the same teaching, but we have different experiences with that. We have different knowledge with that. We have different capacity. We have different receptors. We have a different way of handling those things. And when we try to pass that knowledge that we have on, if we haven't taken the time to reflect and to uh how do you say, if you haven't taken the time to look at yourself, to do a self evaluation before you start trying to teach somebody else, then you're going to hand them the same information that was given to you by the people that came before you and the people before them. And it's just going to be the same repetitive information over and over. God is not looking for that generational thing to continue unless it's an abundance to Christ and lifting up and magnifying and glorifying God. Now, if it does, if whatever we're being taught is all of the world, I know somebody right now that's struggling mentally with everything that they're doing. It doesn't. It seems like an excuse anymore that people just make. Mental illnesses or whatnot. And I'm not saying that they don't exist because I have a few myself, but I'm not gonna take medicine. You know what? This is my medicine right here. This is my medicine. You're not gonna pump me full of pharmaceuticals and tell me that the grace of God isn't sufficient. You're not gonna tell me that I can't be healed by the word of God and the mighty God that we serve. God made this whole planet. All this grass turning green out here in the springtime. Can you do that? You can go out there and put all the water you want on your grass in the wintertime when it's brown and dead and see if it turns green. It's going to do what it does when God says it's time for. God has his own specific seasons for things. The seasons that God gets involved in your life, you need to be active in it. If there's somebody that's in your life right now and you might not like them, you might not even want to hear anything they have to say. You might despise every word that comes out of their mouth. But if it seems like there might be the slightest bit or the slightest hint of goodness in them toward you, try to use that as a stepping stone. I mean, God puts people in your life for a reason. They might be evil and sadistic. God wants you to talk to them. They might be a blessing to you. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, God puts you where God puts you for you to learn and do, not for you to get and have and be and do whatever you want. Your life has purpose. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I live a perfect life because I don't, and I never have. But neither did Saul, who became Paul the Apostle. He was going around murdering babies and burning down churches. So abortion and everything has been around longer, far longer than you think it has. And all these things, King Herod, all these politicians, no matter what side they on of the aisle they were on, were killing babies. And Jesus said you shouldn't offend them. But God, by design, God's happening the way God is, not toward our will. We might want something to happen, but in order to have our will or our plans to work, we have to make sure God is involved in the front lines of that plan. It's not going to happen no matter what you want to do on your own terms. If God is not the first and foremost authority in your plans will fail. And you'll constantly have to redo them. You'll have to rework them. You'll have to change them. You'll have to do them over again. And you'll be angry and disappointed and mad. And no matter how many times you plan in your life, your plans will never work. Because if your plans aren't God's plans, then your plans will fail. I hate to tell you that that's just the way it is. And I'm telling you from experience, this guy has the experience in knowing. See, I plan on doing stuff all the time up until the last few years, and then I started understanding. Wait a minute. Every time I make plans, they don't ever work. I need to get my head right. So the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. That's verse 12 in chapter 11 of Matthew. Now, if you think about that in itself, the context of what that means, it doesn't mean that anybody who is after the kingdom of heaven to become violent and take it by force. That's not what he's saying. There's always some parabolistic knowledge that is implemented in the way Jesus speaks. So, if in order for you to understand, that's the reason why he says, "He that hath ears to hear, let him hear." Verse 15, three verses later, chapter 11, from verse 12 to verse 15. He's talking about the messengers, the prophets, the message in itself. He's talking about what happened to them and how they were murdered wrongfully just for delivering a good word of God. And they were doing God's work and being killed for it, not sinning and doing what's right, and they were killed for it. You know how many people have been persecuted, prosecuted, and belittled and rejected for trying to do the right thing, trying to be a good guy, trying to change somebody. Well, not change somebody, but just trying to change the way that they live or the way they show themselves to people or change the way people see them or just trying to do good overall for anybody and everybody that comes in and out of their lives, even though, I've had people take advantage of me a lot in my life. I know what it's like to be there, to be one of those people trying to constantly do good and care too much and just only to be rejected in the end of the day because I'm not, when you care about stuff and when you want to see people do good and you want to see people happy and you're trying to take care of everybody, then people don't like that. They'd rather have the problem. They'd rather have look at what the Israelites did to Jesus when he came to bring good news. They didn't want that stuff. Give me what we want right now. This is what we want. We don't want to hear. Don't give me all that goodness stuff. I don't want to listen to that. Hang them, crucify them. What? This world is backwards, and it's still the same at this very moment. The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Don't you know that anybody who is real and genuine to the heart about being a servant to the Most High God is the most ignored person on the planet? Don't you know the people that aren't talking about politics and the Democrats are doing this and the Republicans are doing that and all they talk about is just Jesus? Don't you know that those people are ignored? They try to get you away from the politicians. Instead, you'd rather be where the politicians are. You don't want to hear what Jesus has to say. Tell me what Donald Trump has to say. Tell me what Joe Biden has to say. Tell me what, blah, blah, just bubbly, bubbly. Just babbling on about stuff that doesn't even make sense. Glory be to God. Only thing I know is I can ask God for the wisdom, the courage, and the confidence to continue pushing forward because people are not ever, people will always be people. We're passing the same knowledge down that we've gotten over generations and generations and generations, and things just happened over and over again. And how many hundreds of years, how many thousands of years have went by, and we're passing down the same information that the last guy had, and we're going to try to pass it on to the next generation. And this is the way you think, and this is the way you think, and this is the way you think. Well, we're telling people how to think. Give you an example. How do you think racism is still alive and grieving right now and causing grief throughout the United States and in the world even? Because it's taught from the people that learned it from the people that taught them, that learned it from the people that taught them, and now that the person that has it is trying to pass it on to the future generations. But where is the word? If you can show me anywhere in the word where it says that we're supposed to be racist, then glory be to God. If you tell me anywhere in the word where it tells me specifically to trust the politicians and believe that politicians can change the world, I'll read it and I'll study it. Glory be to God. If you can show me anywhere in this Bible where God specifically appointed presidents and kings other than the kings he appointed and anointed to rule over the nations that he chose, glory be to God, I'll read it. I'll pray about it and I'll read it. But you're not going to be able to show me that because I've read this Bible and I know it doesn't exist in there. And I'm asking you to show me something that you can't show me. Amen. If you can tell me something I don't know, then I'd like to study a little bit more about it to find out exactly what the context is of it, so that way that I have the right knowledge and not your knowledge. Glory be to God. Praise Jesus. I hope you have a wonderful week coming up. It's going to be a long week for me. I've got some things I'm going to be dealing with. And all I'm asking for is a little bit of prayer. I know not very many people watch my videos because they're too long and too serious, but that's okay too, because glory be to God. The Lord is going to see these messages delivered to the people who need them. Amen. Have a blessed week.